So we saw this.
I'm gonna try to
Definitely saw that.
Restraint score. I have avenged my family and clan. No!
We did skip a cutscene. Look at this.
Wins.
We'll find out when I start the game, but we skipped a cutscene, a very important one at that. That is so annoying. I literally missed it by accident because I literally remember pushing my keyboard forward like I'm gonna do right now so I can have more space on my desk, and I accidentally skipped one of the most important cutscenes to the story. So this is it right here.
The Nether Realm. This is where I was reborn. This is where you will pay. Scorpion wins. I have avenged my family and clan.
I skipped it right here.
Scorpion, kill him. I will not. He has been beaten. Have you forgotten? What is this?
Yes, Maddie, I do. You know what I like more than boobs? Pizza. I hate you. Well, I can't believe I skipped this cutscene. Like, this is the most important one we've had so far. And of course, I skipped the most important one by accident. Like, I'm so bullshit. Thank God we're doing a recap. Yes, I pushed my keyboard forward and my nail hit the skip bar because I wanted more space on my desk. And we missed this entirely in our playthrough the other day. I'm gonna just keep my my thumbnails off. These nails are so pretty.
That is not me.
Oh. I feel like that was a little unnecessary, taking off your entire face. Face reveal.
Ouch.
Me with my ex-boyfriends. I drop their dead skull and I go, oh! Honestly,
Despite my efforts, my vision has come to pass.
it's what they deserve.
An unfortunate end. He once defended Earthrealm from the Netherrealm armies of Shinnok and Quan Chi.
Scorpion will pay for this.
Sub-Zero's fate is his own doing.
His own doing?
The Lin Kuei have a history of making ruinous choices. Such as the Cyber Initiative.
I am among those speaking out against the Grandmaster's plan. Surgically transform the Lin Kuei into glorified robots? It kills our intuition.
I'm not even being dramatic. I think this was the most important cutscene so far and I accidentally skipped it. That is so embarrassing for me.
We were invited by Shang Tsung.
He pays you to kill Earthrealm warriors. Betraying your own realm? I expect better. Even from an assassin.
I think so.
The Grandmaster.
Because Mortal Kombat 9 to 11 is a remake of 1 to 3, but this is a completely fresh TL. Because 1 to 5 are... 1 to 5 are their own timeline. Wait, then how do we get to 9? What happened to 6, 7, and 8? Okay, this is where we were. So we played at Cyrax. And then we started playing as Liu Kang. He starts having a crush for Katana. Shao Kahn has this idea because they lost the first tournament. And now Shao Kahn wants to invade this world as they try to do another tournament because he's a sore loser. That's where we're at. Let me pull up the game now. Yeah, I'm trying to like put all the pieces together before the new game comes out. Like, I feel like Street Fighter lore is so much more linear, but Mortal Kombat lore, it's like, here's an archive. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're currently working on that. I hope this isn't too loud. I'm going to mute my desktop audio just in case it's very loud. Oh my God, no. The time traveling girl or whatever. And then, oh my God. It just gets so mass. It's sort of another reboot, but it's also a new timeline, but it's also a new journey, but it's also like, it's just a lot that we don't know yet. All we know is that it's a fresh TL. Oh, this is very loud. You guys better be thanking me. All right. Yeah, so in this TL, Achu, I don't know why Mortal Kombat 9 is not like available on Twitch. I just tried finding it. I can't find it. I don't know why. Oh. It's every other Mortal Kombat game except for 9. I was like, oh. Okay. Yeah, very bizarre. I just want to like... Before we do that, hold on. I just need to... I always get afraid when we do these that my like a name is gonna show up and it's gonna be the F word. Okay, I don't think there's any...
Melina, Sub-Zero.
I think we're fine. Okay, we are. Multiverse. I mean, that's literally what Mortal Kombat is. Multiverse of Madness boots 100%. I'm so mad I didn't get a white scrunchie because I literally had a white scrunchie the other day and I didn't buy it. I have one somewhere in my house, but I'm starting to use larger scrunchies because it really hurts your hair to use small elastics. It's just listed as Mortal Kombat. Oh, well, I'm too lazy to do all that, honestly. It's fine. This is Mortal Kombat X, guys. X. Oh my god, Mortal Kombat X, as in X, the film with Pearl. That's the only one that I saw. I haven't seen Pearl yet. Oh. I'm done for. The stands are gonna get me. The song the other day I didn't know existed. Padam, padam. Really embarrassing for me, honestly. Let's just dive into the story. Let's go. Oh, I forgot the quality is shit. Oh my god, very loud.
There is great energy nearby.
Ray dude?
They must not take him.
Well, I interpret the new TL of Mortal Kombat being, okay, Raiden was the god in this one, and now Liu Kang is the god in the next one. Who was the god in the original? Was it Raiden still?
Thank you, Lord Raiden. I am called Smoke.
Yes, I'm wearing
Why are you
sweatpants. Get
here in
into it.
Outward?
To participate in a tournament to save Earthrealm. Join us, Smoke.
Forgive me, but if Sector was searching for me, he is hunting Sub-Zero as well.
Sub-Zero? Call me crazy with a K, but didn't we see him die?
The Grandmaster intends to turn
It could have been a
everyone into
fluke.
cyborg. My friend is in danger.
The tournament. I have a feeling your friend will be there.
Then let us go. Sub-Zero's soul depends on it.
A pity you could not have cooperated.
Who's in there?
You are ordered to return to the Lin Kuei Temple for assimilation.
Cyrex!
I am Lin Kuei Unit LK4D4. You will come with me.
I'm sorry for what they did to you.
So it's never
Not comply.
it's never confirmed as to why Cyrex wanted to become a robot. I mean, I think there's lore there, but can you please? Okay, I literally haven't played in a couple days. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm getting so gagged. Brian, thank you for the follow. Oh. Oh.
Sub-Zero wins. Round 2.
Don't like how Sub-Zero plays compared to Scorpion. Scorpion, I feel like, feels better. But that's just me. But I also literally don't know what I'm doing, so hold on. If you would excuse me. What in the fuck? Oh, I missed my ultimate. That is really embarrassing. I don't know if I'm a Scorpion or a Sub-Zero girl. I think I'm a Scorpion girl. Probably because my Scorpio rising.
Sub-Zero wins.
I will face the Lin Kuei when my task is done, not before.
The readings were getting stronger and now they're gone. Sub-Zero? But you're dead.
Well, clearly
The
not.
Sub-Zero you speak of. He was my brother.
Your brother?
I am only here to learn Sub-Zero's fate.
What?
He was killed by someone named Scorpion.
Where would I find him?
Try the Colosseum. That's where...
Oh my god, it's giving Scooby-Doo in the Scooby Island.
Generation process.
Gotcha!
Oh, this is how he gets his arms ripped off.
Stay with me, Jax.
We will break you as well. Not if I break.
That was the goriest thing we've seen the entire playthrough.
Round 1.
Finally stepping into their Mortal Kombat boots. They've been pretty tame with the gore until now. In terms of like cutscenes and stuff. That's what I said. Like, we played an entire stream and there wasn't like a sliver. There was 8 chapters of no gore in the cutscenes. Except for like the opening one, but like, does that count? Oh yes! Oh, I'm not joking, bitch. I was gagged. Okay, I might be like in the minority of this, but like, I love the smell of like the beach and like the sand and the sunscreen. I have the sunscreen on, I have the sandy smell. Like, I just love how it just is like, oh, I love it. That's why I wanted to get pizza tonight, but I think I'm gonna make noodles. I think I have like a bag of like noodles, like to make like homemade noodles and stuff. I'm really excited to make them. Oh, I did it! Did you just rip out his heart? Shot in the heart. Pussy!
I remain whole for now.
You're
Sonya Blade to
whole?
command. Sonya Blade to command. Do you read?
Sub-Zero said I'm whole.
Sonya Blade to command. Do you read?
You have stopped the bleeding.
Yeah, but he needs a medic as soon as possible.
I must go to the Colosseum.
But I need your help to get
There's a
him
portal to the south. You can use it to transport yourselves back to Earthrealm.
Mother.
Oh!
That portal better be close.
Mother. Yes! I love the Colosseum. It gives me so much nostalgia.
Failed. I deserve death.
Speaking of mother.
I have failed my father. You must kill me.
Kill him!
Oh, this is how she gets chained up.
Katana! You will join me.
She disobeys her daddy. Daddy.
Shao Kahn, I challenge Scorpion, the murderer of my brother. You will bring him before me.
No one makes demands of the Emperor. Reptile!
Round 1. Fight!
There are some reptile stands, if I'm honest. Oh. I'm getting deja vu. Do you get deja vu? Pepper, thank you for the follow. Stop running. Don't be a bitch. Why was he just laying on the floor like that with his booty arched? Booty so big. Lord, have mercy. Oh. Oh. Oh, that little slide was sexy.
Round 2. Fight!
The way you can't do fatalities in the story mode, you're just gonna have to vibe. Oh, he blocked it! You cock-a-doodie. Oh. Oh, he got gagged. Oh, get gagged.
Sub-Zero wins. I would kill you, but that is not my purpose here. Your followers hold you in high esteem, Warlord. They fight and die for your amusement. My brother participated in this folly. I do so only to face his killer. And you shall.
He's so hot, I don't know.
What is this? You are not Sub-Zero. I am his family and clan. I fight for his honor.
He had no honor. You will die as he did.
Round
Is that so? I don't know any of these inputs.
Sub-Zero wins. Round 2. Fight!
Not the Kratos dude. Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn's really hot to me. I don't know. The way he's always like spread eagle too at his throne. Like, oh my god, let me like go to work. Let me go to town. It's the titties. It's the like barely wearing any clothes. Like, it's hot. He just blocked it. You cock.
Sub-Zero wins.
And look at how we ate that.
For my brother. No, you.
Who now interrupts the Emperor's tournament?
Sub-Zero? No!
You cannot save him. Stay here, or they will take you as well.
We request that we may return him to our temple for judgment. And what do I gain from granting this bold request?
The Lin Kuei's loyalty and service.
Very well. He is yours.
The ponytails on the back of their...
I spared Smoke this fate, only to watch this new Sub-Zero fall.
No, I will not be turned.
Kitana! How is it that Earthrealm ninjas brazenly appear before me when my daughter, Princess of Outworld, was sent to intercept them?
Father,
Begone!
What? That was just rude.
Kitana's faith is a slender reed bent before the storm, if it can be uprooted altogether.
Sure, let's go ruin someone else's life.
Oh, he feels bad for Sub-Zero. Yes!
Is this how you show your loyalty, Jade? Kitana, you follow me when I clearly wish to be alone. Then you upbraid me? I will not be scolded like some child.
You need to be careful. I have never seen your father this angry with you. You are a princess. He expects more from you than this.
I know what he expects.
We will talk later, when you are in more of a mind to listen.
Princess Kitana, I request an audience.
Earthrealmers, you dare approach me.
Hey, listen, honey. We don't want to fight.
But we will if we must.
You will learn.
If Jade is a cameo fighter in the new game, I'll lose my mind. They hate her for no reason. I'm like, stop. She's queen. Okay, this is my first time playing her in this game. I don't know, like, I talked about it earlier on Twitter. Something about the designs in this game, I know, like, obviously very revealing, but something about it I just love. It's so cunty to me. I live. Who doesn't like seeing a bad bitch kick ass and slay men in a bikini with her titties out? Like, ugh. I love it. And also people like, I don't know, like a TLDR, it can honestly be chopped down to like, a lot of people like slut shaming them. Like, I know obviously not every woman wants to be portrayed like this, but like calling these designs bad is like weirdly like borderline slut shaming. I'm like, relax.
Johnny Cage wins. Round 2, fight.
Okay, I'm trying to get these inputs. Melina's look in this game, I don't know, it's so good. I can't, it's just so, I just love all of the like bikinis and titties, and I think Sindel is my favorite of the 4 in this game. I think Scarlet's in this game too. I feel like I'm doing really good with the inputs, but I'm not doing a lot of damage. Yeah.
Johnny Cage wins.
I mean, but I don't think it should be like chopped up to being like they should never look like this. So I think that Melina and Sindel, if any of them, should be a little more revealing. Wow, damn. Why am I fighting 2 at once on my first battle? Hello? Her gameplay feels really smooth though. Fuck. God, Smoke is so crazy hard against her. I'm drinking. No, bring Smoke back out. I want to kill him. Oh! No! I just wasted that. Why are you dodging everything? F you. Yes!
Round 3, fight!
Oh, that was really unnecessary. Hey, fucker! Thank you. Oh, fuck you, dude. Okay. Not the homage to Alicia Fox. Oh my god, that did so much damage. Eat my dick. Eat my girl cock. Oh, he just hit me in it. No, I was so close to winning! This isn't gonna do anything, honestly. Ugh.
Round 1, fight!
Katana's being the hardest chapter so far. Okay, you guys. That's just rude. like that follow-up. I like the noises when the fans hit in this game. The yeah, eat dick.
Round 2.
And gagged. Yes! That was a good combo. Oh, fuck you. I think I did it. Yes. I slayed that.
Shao Kahn wants death to follow combat. I will give it to him.
Perhaps Liu Kang was wrong about you. Or perhaps he sensed, as I do, that there is conflict within you.
Not him clocking her tea.
Thanks. Ow. You couldn't have seen that in one of your hot flashes?
Something whispers to you that circumstances should be different. That you should be different. You are much more like Sindel than Shao Kahn.
Mother alert.
But she is dead.
My mother is dead, yes. Why do you...
You need answers, Katana. I can help you find them if you will trust in me. Go to Shang Tsung's flesh pits. Much will be revealed there.
The flesh pits? But I am forbidden to...
Yes, you are. And why is that?
I don't know. Tell me.
You must discover your true path. Alone.
That walk, you better.
Show yourself, Jade. I know you're following me. Again.
Following you still. I know where you're going. I am ordered to prevent you from going there.
And why is that?
I do not question the Emperor's commands. Katana, please, turn back.
I cannot. This path might lead me to the truth. I'm sorry, Jade, but I will not allow...
Why are Jade's eyes so green?
Round 1. Fight!
Thank you, Danny.
Round 2. Fight!
Just fighting with gadgets. Oh, that would have been so dope if I landed that.
tried to warn you.
Hey, Tyrion.
This is something I have to do.
The flesh pits. Is this where she's introduced? This is definitely where she's introduced. Mother is coming. There she is. Ah! The moment I fell in love with her right here. That's my girl. I remember being so gagged at this. I was like, oh my god, she's so cool.
What in the name of... She looks like me. Huh? Sister. So pretty, so fair, so sad and alone. Come, let us be a family. You are not my family. You are a monstrosity.
Round 1.
Period. I love just the rags. Like, oh, it's literally everything to me. I love her. Okay, this attire on Melina is definitely revealing, but like, I just love it. You can't yuck my yum. I love her. She's everything to me. That's my mother. I was born from one of these pods, just like her.
Round 2. Fight!
Oh, she did the roll. Hi, AV Hero. Oh, I knew that was gonna miss. Whatever. Gagged.
Farewell, sister.
That is no way to treat your sibling.
Despicable swine. Do you think
Oh.
my father will stand for this? These abominations you have created here?
I am merely perfecting you, princess. As difficult as that might be.
Silence! I will drag you before Shao Kahn by your pointed beard.
Round
Oh my god, she's gagging them. Not her coming with the reeds. By your pointed beard. Oh my god. Her gameplay feels so good when you get used to her combos. Better than anybody I've played before. I'm not even saying that because like first female character we're playing. Oh well, Sonya's is pretty good too. Thank you. It's a human. It's human. All natural. Okay. You need to be humbled. I forgot that he could just turn into you. Drake, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Do I feel bad for spamming that move? No.
You will stand before my father and confess your deeds.
I think your father already knows, girl.
I would not disturb you, Father, if this matter were not of utmost importance. I felt you should know what Shang Tsung has been doing as of
But also, like, you weren't allowed in the flesh
Conjurer
pits.
has created horrid replicas of me, crossbred with Tarkatan blood. One was alive and attacked me.
Oh, she's about to get so gagged.
Well done, sorcerer.
Poor girl.
You know? You approve? How could you? My own father!
I am your emperor! Your father was a weakling Adinian king. I annihilated him while merging his realm with Outworld, and took his queen as my wife. If only I had not allowed Sindel to convince me of your worth. But now, I have a true daughter.
Raiden was right. You have lied to me my entire life.
Escort her to the tower. I will make an example of her. Return to the flesh pits. Bring me my daughter, Melina.
I failed you, Kitana. Now I will make amends.
Oh, is this Jade's chapter? Work. Are those shotguns?
That is no toy. It belongs to Shang Tsung. We are finished. Return to your post.
I already did, Drake. We did about like a couple hours. It's a very hard game.
Stand aside. I will see Kitana.
No one enters the tower.
You are an excellent guard dog, Baraka. But you must learn to heal.
I do not take orders from you.
Round 1. Fight!
I love the music here. Fuck, sorry. Hungry as fuck. When I'm hungry, I get Yanni.
Round 2. Fight!
I missed. That combos everything. I just gagged. Hi, Marshy.
Adenians have no loyalty.
Blind loyalty is not a good thing, as I have learned.
Oh my god,
You
the
must keep your
boobs.
eyes open.
Everything.
Blow.
What
Oh.
you talking?
You make it too easy.
My orders are clear. No one is allowed in the tower.
As you can see, I am here.
Here to help the princess escape. You would deny her execution? Only means of regaining her honor?
We have very different concepts of honor, Shokan.
Round 1. Fight!
Wait. I'm chilly. Let me put this on. Okay. That's right. I wanted to fix this. What is that? I think I fixed it. I hope. Yeah, I know I lost. Okay, it's fine. It's no tea. Whatever. Whatever. She can win this round. I'll win the war. Gagged. Right in the cooch.
Round 3. Fight!
The ponytail is ponytailing. Yes! The clutch. And I ate that.
Not much of a jailer, are you? Now then, Your Highness, let us see how quickly we can remove these bonds.
Jade, I
am too.
Go. Find Raiden. Ask for his help.
That should distance me from any pursuers.
Others pursue.
Mother off.
Fine.
By the gods, you are Melina.
You must return with me. There's to be a celebration for my sister. She's going away.
Round 1.
I love her attitude in this game, like how she's so like she's literally like Harley Quinn serial killer. What voice acts her? It literally sounds like fucking Tara Strong. I can't believe I just missed that. Oh, that was close. There was a close one. Okay. Oh. Oh, that's not, that's, oh. Okay, well, I'm fucking up my microphone, so. Whatever, I guess. And I just dropped everything.
I am more of a sister to Kitana than you. I must find Raiden.
He is here.
Kitana turns away from Shao Kahn, so you attack her rather than join her?
This is not
Smoke, stop! That is not Katana.
You will come no closer.
Round one.
What a dumbass. She's wearing purple, you fucking idiot. Sorry guys, I'm fucking with my audio right now. I think I'm satisfied. I'll stop. That is very unlucky of me. I missed my move. Oh. I still won though. And I still ate.
Fight.
Okay. Let's not send links without asking.
did not wish to do that. Lord Raiden, I come at the request
Lord? I was with Smoke. I thought she was a bad guy. Girl. Guess he turned another one. What's Raiden got that I haven't got?
Godlike power?
A personality that is not at all like sanding paper?
Jerks.
He will be executed. Kitana does not have much time.
Kitana? Executed? Where is she?
Held captive in the tower of Shao Kahn's fortress.
I am not pleased with this outcome either, Liu Kang. But there is no time. We must return to the tournament.
But you are responsible for her capture! You persuaded her to turn against Shao Kahn!
Lord Raiden, we can free her as others fight in our stead and join you thereafter.
Very well.
We will meet you at the Coliseum. I hope your girlfriend is worth Lord Raiden's anger, Liu Kang.
Notice that I am ignoring you.
They must have relocated Kitana.
We have indeed. We knew someone would come for her.
May you join her in death.
Round.
Which chapter is this? Oh, Kung Lao's chapter. Excuse me. Hello? Why am I being sent through the floor? What is happening? He blocked it! Well.
Round 2. Fight.
I'm like getting so disoriented. Like, why is he like shooting me through the wall? Like, what? Like, what? Stop. Do you fight normally? Who are you? Who is this guy? What the actual fuck? It doesn't help when playing this new character. I have no idea what to do besides twirl his little hat. His hat's incredible. Wait, someone should have done that for Hat's Incredible. That would have been so cool if they did a Kung Lao hat. Okay, well, I got so gagged.
Round 1. Fight.
What? Stop doing that move. It's annoying. Stop. Stop! Oh my god. Is that his entire kit?
Round 2. Fight.
I can't. Oh my god, this is so cringe baby. Cringe baby game. course he blocks it.
Round 3, fight!
Enough. Thank Jesus it's over. Don't make me fight that man again.
Thankful I choose not to spill your tainted blood. Who are you? There is something familiar. Do you need help? 4 arms against 2 is hardly a fair fight.
Liu Kang?
You have had your match against Liu Kang. Now you will face me.
Round 1, fight!
Oh god. Not as Kung Lao. I don't know any of these combos, and he's really like not my favorite. Oh. Oh, I did it. First time landing that. Oh, that didn't do a lot of damage.
Round 2, fight!
We just started the round. My health gone. Appreciate it. Thanks, Goro. Okay. You know what I just realized? Oh, okay. When I go to Australia and I get groceries, not a lot of the food is gonna be the same, so I'm gonna be like distraught. Lost in the grocery store. So you're saying you don't have my favorite chicken tenders over in Australia? Damn. Oh, of course! Oh shit. Please, can we just end this madness? I don't want to play. Oh my god, please don't kill me. I have a family. Okay. We did it.
Now if you have any honor left, you will tell us where Katana is.
She has been taken to the Colosseum, where she has no doubt been executed.
You lie!
She may yet live. Let us go.
The mullet? I'm Liu Kang. Oh, he's getting gagged. No booty on Johnny K. Oh!
There's Katana.
I must free her.
Oh, I loved her outfit with her hair tied back.
Smoke and Johnny Cage have been defeated, and I no longer sense Jackson Briggs or Sonya Blade's presence in Outworld. Despite my doubts as to whether you are Earthrealm's savior, you must fight.
But I am not he who must win.
I hated Raiden here. Like, stop being a bossy
Raiden.
bitch.
Put forth a worthy champion, if you can.
Perhaps you are meant to be the victor.
I don't think. I already did.
You will face Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. No Earthrealm board can stop this deadly alliance.
Wait, how is this fair?
On that, we agree.
Does anyone ever, like, Mortal Kombat tournament? Like, how is that fair? Like, actually. I don't even know which one I am. Okay, here we go. Oh, he went flying. I don't like that ability that he does. It's so botchy. Nice. Fuck me. No. Oh my god, that was so close.
Round 2, fight.
What the fuck? Oh, I'm not winning this round, Boots. Unless I get the comeback of the century. And that was my only chance to come back, and I didn't land it. Fuck.
Round 3, fight.
Not winning this round either. Stop! Eat a fucking fat cock. I don't like playing this character and then having me do the hardest fights as him. I don't like his combos. Fuck you! God, I hate this character. Why are they making me do the hardest shit as him?
Round 1, fight.
I wish he would so we could play as someone else. Guys, he's injured. Put someone else in the field. Let me play as Katana.
Quan Chi wins. Round 2, fight.
Oh. Oh my god. Honestly, if it's a 2v1, I don't think they should be able to block my meter attack, but that's just me. I am playing on easy mode. I am playing on easy mode. I am playing on easy mode. I'm playing on easy mode. I'm switching it to beginner. I'm getting fed the fuck up.
Round 1. Fight! Song wins. Round 3. Fight!
I love you, Jesus.
No, Kung Lao. Not nearly so.
I hate my life. Okay, it's better than a 2v1, honestly. The 2v1s are so unfair.
I will eat your heart. Round 1. Fight!
Who is that guy from Smash? That one Pokemon? Incineroar. It's giving Incineroar boots. Wait, is he wearing a Speedo? He is. Okay, that was a little too much damage for my liking.
Kintaro wins. Round 2, fight.
I had him scouted too, and he did so much damage. He is a boss enemy, but damn. Why is my ultimate not activating, please? I know, we need Tanya back. Picketing. Oh god. We also need Sindel. I need Sindel in that new one. I did no damage. Look at that. That's crazy.
You see, Raiden? Earthrealm is free.
I was gonna say, don't they just kill him?
Kung Lao, no! I will strip the flesh from your bones.
How is that even fair? Like, you agreed to the terms, and he also won. Why did you just kill him? That was so unnecessary. I know he's a villain, but like...
Witness, boy. Do you know who I am?
The murderer of my friend.
I am Shao Kahn, conqueror of worlds. You will taste no victory.
You will taste your own blood.
Round.
I'm just randomly playing Liu Kang again. Oh, okay. Oh my god. I don't think he is. Isn't Kotal introduced in 10? He might be. I'm not sure. Throwing me into a boss fight with this character that I've like never played before. Can you please?
Shao Kahn wins. Round 2, fight.
Okay. You don't have to keep spamming the same move. Okay, well, I'm dead. I have no idea who Takada is.
Round 1, fight.
Hello? Stop. I can't.
Shao Kahn wins.
We're gonna be here a while.
Round 2,
like can't even like do any combos or hits. Like, why is Liu Kang this bad? And they put me against the hardest character. Like, this is so fucking cringe, dude.
Round 1. Fight!
Like, no combos on Liu Kang right now, dude. Can you stop doing the same fucking move? Like, get original, you loser.
Round 2. Fight!
I've had enough. Liu Kang, why do you have no combos? I'm over here.
Shao Kahn wins. Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight!
That did no fucking damage. And one of his abilities does like half my health bar. I like literally can't, you guys. Like, his fucking combos are the worst fucking combos in a fighting game I've ever seen in my life. I've never played a worse character. I like can't. Oh my god.
Round 1. Fight!
How do you even do a bicycle kick?
Round 1. Fight! You are pathetic. Round 1. Fight! Bow to me. Prepare to die. You are nothing.
Oh, I don't know if I can do all that.
It's official.
Wow, this is terrible.
Prepare to die.
It would be fine if Liu Kang's combos weren't atrociously hard to do. But I have never felt more stiff in a video game, a fighting game. Wow. Can I turn God mode on?
Round 1. Fight.
Jesus Christ.
Round 2. Fight.
He has invincibility, so you can't even do the grab on him. This is terrible. This is actually terrible.
Fight!
Even if I get a win on him, it's like I have to get another one in the same sitting.
Shao Kahn wins.
Oh my god, this is atrocious!
Round 1. Fight!
You see, Raiden? Earthrealm is free.
Kung Lao! No! I will strip the flesh from your bones!
Witless boy, do you know who I am?
The murderer of my friend.
I am Shao Kahn, conqueror of worlds. You will taste no victory.
You will taste your own blood.
Round 1. Fight!
You will die, mortal.
You are on beginner difficulty. You are on beginner difficulty. You are on beginner difficulty.
Round 2. Fight!
Does it not apply unless I redo the entire story? That's so bullshit. I'm not entertained. Thanks. Because you needed to do that move. Because you weren't doing enough damage before.
Wins. Round 1. Fight!
I've had enough.
See, Raiden? Earthrealm is free.
Kung Lao! No! I will strip the flesh from your bones!
Witless boy, do you know who I am?
The murderer of my friend.
I am Shao Kahn, conqueror of worlds. You will taste no victory.
You can't change the difficulty for the story? Then why does it say story and not arcade? Hello? I'm serious. Do I have to install like cheats to get through this fight? I literally will. I was so close. It's so annoying. The way I guarded that. I'm like serious. I'm so serious. What is happening? I hate games like this. Like, I want to just enjoy myself. That's why we literally play games that have easiest difficulty. I just want to enjoy my time. I just want to enjoy my time. They have to do something like this and ruin it. What is the goddamn thing I used for Elden Ring? This is literally atrocious, and I like can't. Yeah, I can't. Mortal Kombat 9. God. Cheat. There's costumes. Well, does it look like there's cheats? Which is really annoying. Hi everyone, a few years ago when I tried to complete the story for Mortal Kombat 9, when I was stuck on Shao Kahn, I got pissed off. It is impossible to beat him. No game should be allowed shall allow to be unfair and not to be beaten and make you pissed off and angry. After hours of searching, I found this hacked. Hacked file will give you infinite health bar. But Shao Kahn is not that hard to beat in story mode. With Liu Kang, you just do the basic hit XX circle combo. Yeah, give me a break. This guy's probably an incel fucking loser, has such a loser life. Please.
Shao Kahn wins. Feel the wrath of Shao Kahn.
This isn't easy for anybody.
To fight.
Doing the combo you said, Mr. on the forums. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. It's not that easy. Shut the fuck up, loser. How do you install this? Just copy it into your Mortal Kombat. It's the original EXE with this one. And I will. Oh, and I will. Is in my Mortal Kombat edition. Okay, let's see.
You see, Raiden? Earthrealm is free.
Kung Lao! No!
He got gagged, like, actually.
Strip the flesh from your bones! Witness, boy. Do you know who I am?
The murderer of my friend.
I am Shao Kahn, conqueror of worlds. You will taste no victory.
You will taste your own blood.
Round 1. Fight!
Yes, it works. You're about to get yours, you little fucker. Spamming little bitch. Yeah, what? And 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 what? Get fucking gagged, you loser. Eat my dick. You actually don't deserve that. Like, actually go fuck yourself. I've never been this mad at a fight before. I actually have been. I rage a lot on this channel. Real gamer girls let out their gamer rage. Speaking of gamer rage, I forgot to take my estrogen.
Liu Kang wins. Flawless victory.
Damn right it was flawless. Flawless. Get fucked. I feel a sunburn on my back, and I put on sunscreen before I went to the beach. It's probably like really patchy. In like the most obscure spot. And that's how you clear.
Liu Kang wins. Flawless victory.
On your feet! For Kung Lao, the Shaolin, and Earth Realm.
Oh wow. It's giving Dragon Ball Z. They did that in Dragon Ball Z.
I cannot believe Earthrealm has won.
The Elder Gods have spoken. Earthrealm is free of Shao Kahn forever.
Even he was gagged a bit. Wait, Katana looks so pretty there. What?
But the price of victory was almost too steep to pay. Kung Lao's death is my fault. I encouraged him. Our triumph was not meant to be achieved in this way. I see now. He must win refers to you. But to prevent Armageddon, you needed to defeat Shao Kahn, not Shang Tsung. It cannot be. Shao Kahn is dead. Yet the future remains unchanged.
So he was supposed to die. Oh? What are your thoughts on Craven from Spider-Man 2? He's alright.
Is finished.
Nice.
Is there. She should rule. Melina? She exists only because of my sorcery.
And you breathe because I restrain mine.
What?
You live. I am not so easily killed. Quan Chi accelerated my recovery.
Emperor,
Not one word.
Even she was weirded the fuck out.
Outworld can no longer merge with Earthrealm.
There may yet be an alternative, Emperor. Invasion.
Invasion?
How many alternatives are there?
Me? Sindel's ward prevents me from setting foot in Earthrealm.
Have you considered why your wife and Empress chose to betray you in this particular fashion?
Of course. But even after millennia, her motives are a mystery.
She realized that the safeguards afforded by the Elder Gods through mortal combat are but fiction. She sacrificed herself to give protection the Elder Gods could not, so Earthrealm could not suffer as had Edenia.
Indeed.
I have mastered the spells necessary for her resurrection. Her ward will be nullified, and with it, the barrier that prevents your entry into Earthrealm. I will return her to you, of course. You will find her much more cooperative.
This is a very magnanimous offer.
I wish
How did Sindel
only to
originally
serve.
die?
I am weary of sorcerers, Quan Chi. Prove your worth. Bring her to me.
Sindel.
Quan Chi?
Shao Kahn looks forward to your return.
The Emperor. Yes. What of Kitana?
Kitana now allies herself with Earthrealm.
Then she is no longer my daughter. Take me to Shao Kahn.
Yes, Empress. The invasion of Earthrealm can now begin.
Oh, I get it. So she originally wanted to save Earthrealm and she was a good guy. That's crazy that she was supposed to be a good guy and now she's like a bad girl.
15, 16, 17, 18. Cabal, call it in.
Base, Eagle 2, we count 18. 1-8 bogey, southbound on Olympic. Roger that. Eagle 2, out.
This is not happening.
Not what I was thinking when I swore to protect and serve.
What is that?
I'm thinking shoot first, ask questions later.
Fine with me.
Reptile always sneaking his way into chapters because he's the easiest person to fight.
Pistols!
Enough of this!
It's you and me, freak show.
Round 1. Fight!
Oh, I hate this gameplay right now. Oh, me when I pull out a gun. Spread what?
Eat this! Eat this! Eat this!
Flawless victory.
Literally, who is this guy? Just a random cop? Literally a cab. I want to see his special move. The doink. Oh, the taser.
Flawless victory.
Thanks. Flawless.
Sticking out your tongue? Bet your mama's real proud. Come on, we're going street level. We've been compromised.
It ain't safe down there.
Better there than here.
Striker, check her out. What do you think? Friend or foe?
Foe.
Dressed like that?
Definitely foe. Cover me.
What is she doing here? Ariana, what are you doing here? Melina just in the streets. Hey, girl.
Hey, what are you doing out here?
Looking for a new playmate.
Round 1. Fight!
This random cop winning this fight over Melina's gorgeous, like-ness. Like, why? Can I forfeit?
Eat this! Busted!
Flawless victory. Round 2. Fight!
Is he supposed to be a joke character? Cause
Flawless victory.
it doesn't even say that he wins, so he has to not even be like. Why is there no announcer saying his name?
Who are you? You all right? Johnny Cage fighting a giant monster? What is this, Time Smashers?
That guy just shot lightning from his hands. How'd he do that?
No idea. Spread out. Give him multiple targets.
Melina dead on the ground?
Humans, less ugly when they burn.
Round 1. Fight!
Like, let her stand up. See, this is so much better. You can just relax, let out some combos, enjoy the story. Like, we don't have to get too frustrated and, like, put up a challenge. It's not that serious.
Flawless victory. Round 2. Fight!
Eat this! Eat this! Eat this! Eat this!
Okay, now that that's over with. I don't know how much about the story. So there's a timeline between 9, 10, and 11, and then the other games have their own timeline. So we're starting the timeline right now. Oh my god, yay, I think there's goldfish here. Yes, there is. My last goldfish bag.
Eagle 2! Need medevac, current position. Cabal is down.
I know, literally, like, why am I playing as a cop? I don't understand. Oh, he dies right here, probably. Thank God. Oh, he's still alive. God damn it. We lost. Someone kill him!
The Emperor will have your soul.
Yeah, come and get it.
Round 1. Fight!
You are seriously not going to try to convince me that a cop is going to beat Ermac in a fight. What is this cop propaganda? Even she was weirded TF out. This has to be a joke chapter. I wonder what they had in place for this, because this has no point in the story. They must have had to cut something. Replace it with this. Because the announcer doesn't even say Striker's name. Like, what?
Flawless victory.
I think I'll be keeping my soul.
I have been searching for you, Curtis Stryker.
Well, you found me. Who are you?
I am Nightwolf. Lord Raiden is gathering Earth's defenders. You are among them.
What the hell are you talking about?
Raiden leads Earth's defense against these outworld invaders. He is our best friend.
Yeah, well, Earthrealm Defender is about 10 steps above my pay grade.
I see you doubt yourself, even after your... Come.
What? Where is he? Medevac hasn't been here.
Perhaps he is going to find help.
Nah, he was way too banged up. Someone took him.
What does it matter? Hello? What?
Easy there, mate. You've had a rough one. Kano. In the flesh.
I was on fire.
Burned to a crisp you were. Good thing I found you.
I'm hideous.
Shang Tsung's magic healed the rest of you. But your lungs...
Take it off.
Can't. It's permanent.
What?
No mask, no breathing.
I'm a freak.
I didn't know this was his origin story.
Go on, give him a word.
The ponytails?
I don't use those anymore.
Yeah,
Not Goth
you're all
Miku.
proper police now. The Black Dragon ain't the same without you, mate. You should come back. We're in the money on this war.
You sold those monsters their firepower.
Guilty as charged.
This is your fault.
What are you on about, eh? You're here, ain't you?
I should be dead. Now you're gonna be.
Oh?
Fight.
Oh, that was gay. Ooh, stop straddling me, Mr. Kano.
Flawless victory. Round 2. Fight!
Oh my god, my back hurts because there's a sunburn on it. I know there is.
How do I get out of here?
Not so keen on being dead now, are you?
How do I get out of here?
Good luck. No one gets out of Outworld without Shao Kahn's say-so.
Outworld? Shao Kahn?
Shao Kahn's a big boss round here, and soon, Earth's new master.
He's kind of hot. I don't
Don't
know.
bother. You can't get near him.
No, but I'm guessing you can. What is this?
Raiden has killed Motaro.
That's him, on the throne.
You're a right genius, you are.
It's no great matter. I will go to Earthrealm to finish Motaro's work.
Yes. Shang Tsung.
Yes, Emperor.
The Empress requires something of you.
See there? I'm thinking he's a bit much.
Hello?
I can take it.
Not him just like completely murdering somebody. He's like, I'm quirky, I'm gonna kill. Thank God, these fights are gonna be so much more tolerable. Especially using some of these goddamn annoying ass characters like this guy. Like, why is he doing ballet when he kicks? Like, what is happening? That's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of the characters in this game are hot. I don't know. Mortal Kombat designs just made everybody hot. I'm like, oh. I love this move Melina does. Stabby, stabby, stab, kick. Okay, can y'all kill this character off for good?
And I thought I was a freak. Seal the portal. Time to go.
The ponytails really take me somewhere.
This speed's incredible. Guess it's a side effect of the outworld magic.
Oh, he's toast.
Yeah. Says who?
Sub-Zero. Unit LK5.
What?
You say that like it means something.
As you will soon discover.
Round 1. Fight!
Cyber what? Even she was weirded TF out. Why is he a robot?
Flawless victory.
Why does he have fast boots? Like, why is he Sonic? I don't understand. Where did that come from? Why did Kano just pick up this random dead corpse off the street and give it like speedy boots and hatchets? And then the ponytails. Kano said, extreme makeover, I guess. Makeover, makeover.
Flawless victory.
Not as cool as you thought.
Why did you turn on your brother, Lin Kuei?
That is not my brother. He's machine. I'm human.
You do not appear human.
Don't let the mask fool you.
Round one.
Oh wait, Shiva with the hair in this skin? Work. She has the Bianca Belair braid, everything. Wait, she arched her back. I finally did an input with this character and now I can't do it. What was it? Oh, okay.
Flawless victory.
Oh, he's vaping.
Round two.
You see him vape?
Fight. Flawless victory.
Starting to feel like the old days, only faster.
Sub-Zero.
Away?
You have great power indeed, Cabal.
Wait, you're the lightning guy. You helped Stryker. Stryker, is he...
He is safe. He has joined us in the fight against Shao Kahn. We would welcome your aid also.
Sub-Zero.
That which made him Sub-Zero no longer exists.
He is my friend. What they did to him, it is hideous.
That is just rude.
You're right.
He's not hideous. Be calm. If I was put into a robot suit and my friend while I was injured went, what they did to her was hideous, I'd be like, I'm sorry, what was said? I would wake up so fast. Yeah, Cabal's a good guy. For now.
Sub-Zero? Can he hear me?
He should.
Sub-Zero.
Yes, Smoke.
How do you feel?
Oh, do you need to smoke?
What is it?
I remember the things I have done for Shao Kahn. He cannot be allowed to merge the
The
realm.
wig on Smoke.
Aoka, how can Sub-Zero
Boots.
help us?
I do not know. My attempts to alter future events have had negative consequences. Sub-Zero should never have undergone this transformation. Enlisting him may only further divert the flow of time.
We need intel, right? Let's send him back to Outworld undercover.
They will be unaware of my defection. I could deceive them.
Earthrealm is big. It will not be missed. You will return.
Where is the intruder?
I killed him in Earthrealm.
He should have been saved for interrogation.
He was formidable. I had no choice.
Follow me. We must lead a new mission.
What mission brings us here?
I have scanned your neural net 520. Your neuromodulators have been recalibrated.
Impossible.
The experience has been deleted from your system. Remove your access panel.
Oh wow.
Your programming has been corrupted.
My soul was corrupted. Now it is cleansed.
Round 1. Fight!
Not this robot fighting. What is happening? We're playing Rock'em Sock'em. What? Rock'em Sock'em? The, like, red and blue robot. We're playing Rock'em Sakura. Okay, this character feels good. Finally. A character that's tolerable.
Round 2. Fight!
My bad, my bad.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory.
Artificial enhancements are no substitute for the human soul. Thank you, Centaur.
Finally! Come on, we gotta get him to the graveyard at St. Dominic's. On your feet, all of you!
For what purpose?
Don't care, really, so long as I get paid.
He said on your feet. Come on, up, get up.
Hey, what did...
I will help you. Go, all of you, now!
Let's go, come on! Down here, let's go!
Your treachery will be punished.
Round 1. Fight!
Oh, we're in the clock tower? Oh my god, I would literally rage quit the game so bad if I had to fight 2 of these mini bosses with minimal health. Very glad we got this. Cheat sheet.
Flawless victory. Round 2. Fight!
Yes! I have to do that later. I know, I hate that games like make you like stress out. Like I just want to relax. Like I shouldn't have to like feel like I'm ripping my hair out. Cause like what's the fun in that? I heard they patched it though. They patched the duplicating thing on Tears of the Kingdom. Which is not fun.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory.
I think they already did.
All those teeth and claws.
I'm not updating mine. I said nope. I'm mad they fixed that. Like, fuck you. What if I want to do that? Excuse me.
Come no further, fiend of Outworld.
Round 1. Fight!
That's my business if I want to do the glitch or not. God forbid they release an update for Animal Crossing, but they release a single patch for Tears of a Kingdom because of the duplication glitch.
Sub-Zero.
Oh my goodness.
Victory.
You are not so fearsome.
I still have so much to do in Tears of a Kingdom. It's terrible.
Thanks. I thought we were done.
I must go. I need to investigate the graveyard.
We'd go with, but we have to return to our unit.
That is for the best.
Good luck, man.
He ain't gonna need luck.
That Jax.
This is Sub-Zero. I've encountered Quan Chi. He seems to be casting a spell.
Raiden, what is it? What did you see?
One of Shao Kahn's soulnados, on a scale I thought unimaginable. All of Earthrealm's souls imprisoned, absorbed by Shao Kahn, multiplying his power.
That is what Sub-Zero has found?
No matter my efforts, the future remains in peril. How could I have failed Earthrealm?
Do not lose faith in the spirits, Raiden. They will guide you, protect you. Sub-Zero, we will disrupt the Soulnado. I will be there momentarily.
Sharknado.
The spell appears to be nearly complete.
Who is that?
The one Kano warned about. He is mine. You are not worthy of the name Sub-Zero. Who are you to judge? I wore those colors before you. Bi-Han? Yes, Kuai Liang. It is I. Quan Chi restored me.
Restored? You and I both. We are flawed copies of our former selves.
I have no flaws. Quan Chi has perfected me.
For what end? To serve the Netherrealm and Outworld?
It suits my purpose.
But brother,
We share blood. We are not brothers.
Then I will not regret your defeat.
Round 1. Fight!
I didn't know Sub-Zero was noob.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory. Round 2. Fight! Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory.
You are right. We are not brothers.
Ratna Sumbring Knatargo. Ota Shendura.
Whatever that means.
Go! Your soul is not safe!
Earthrealm's fate is sealed, Nightwolf.
Not yet. We fight until the end.
Round 1.
I like hate his character design. I don't know, something about the drippy eye, like red thing. I don't know. It's ugly to me. I'm pretty sleepy, so I'm gonna go take a shower and head to bed. Thanks for hanging, everybody. I'll be live again soon. I'm gonna just relax and enjoy myself. Tomorrow, enjoy a pizza, lay out in the sun again. But I'll see you guys later. I'll see you on like Monday or Tuesday or something. We have the summer games coming soon, so see you then. But I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for hanging. Goodbye.